Good day, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Omipidonimatella Teniola, and I'm your moderator for today. This is the semi-finals of the FCT 2025 Inter-Private School Debate Competition. The motion for today is this House would dissolve the National Youth Service Corps (NYSC) as a compulsory one-year program for Nigerian graduates. Our schools for today are BRITARCH schools and SureStart schools. BRITARCH will be proposing while SureStart will be opposing. Can we have the chief speaker from the proposing side take the stage?
Today, we stand at a crossroad of history, debating a program born out of necessity. Good afternoon, Honorable Chairperson, respected adjudicators, esteemed opponents, and distinguished audience. My name is DK Beatrice, and I am a student of BRITARCH Schools, Abuja. Today, I am here with my first proposing speaker, Highlander Goje, and my second proposing speaker, Derek Taffa. And I stand before you today as the lead speaker of the proposing side of the motion. This House will dissolve the NYSC as a compulsory one-year program for Nigerian graduates. While the NYSC was established to promote national unity and to rebuild the post-civil war in Nigeria, the realities of today demand that there should be a critical reassessment of its relevance, standards, and its impact in the lives and careers of Nigerian graduates. Our proposition is clear. The NYSC as a one-year compulsory program is outdated, inefficient, and counterproductive in this globalized modern Nigeria. Let us present to you the evidence, statistics, and the compelling argument which demonstrate that this scheme no longer completes its objective, but rather it brings these graduates into potential risk. Before I address my point, I will define the necessary key terms. The Nigerian Youth Service Corps is a one-year mandatory service program established by Yakubu Gowon in 1973 after the Civil War. Its sole aim is to promote national unity and to bring in the tie between Nigerian graduates from diverse backgrounds. Dissolve means to end or terminate an argument, institution, or organization. While Nigerian graduates are individuals who have completed their higher education and have received diploma or degree in Nigeria. I will now proceed with my argument in support of the motion. Firstly, there is an outdated objective and have constantly laid claim to this nation's leadership. Also, there is economic and career stagnation. The compulsory one-year program only does not allow graduates to enter the workforce and reduces their competitiveness in the global job market. Many graduates are lost out of international opportunities due to the inflexibility of the NYSC timeline. The NYSC is expensive. Every year, billions of naira are put into allowances, uniform, logistics, and infrastructure for a program that leaves many graduates idle, underutilized, or forced into a primary assignment. Imagine if these funds are put into entrepreneurship grants or voluntary internships, whereby these graduates can choose the path that align with their career goals. Instead of wasting their time, they will be building their futures. Furthermore, there are security and welfare concerns. Recent years have proven to show that many corps members who have been posted at volatile regions have faced several insecurity and life-threatening risks. According to various media reports, a lot of corps members have lost their lives and have been victims of violence during their service years. Let me give you a real example. In 2016, a young corps member named Ife Dolapo Oladepo, who lost her life during her NYSC orientation in Kano State. This was due to medical negligence and poor camp condition. Her death struck national outrage, and sadly, her death wasn't the last. Every year, we hear of several corps members losing their lives due to road accidents, or stress-related illnesses, all in the name of national service. Furthermore, the opposing side may argue that the NYSC promotes unity and open doors. Yes, there are several success stories, like Dr. Aisha Ibrahim, who, for instance, built her career through her NYSC post at Cross River. But we cannot base national policy on exception. For every Aisha, there are several core members wasting their time at underfunded schools, staying at home, or fearing for their lives. Good outcome should be the norm and not exception. In conclusion, the NYSC as it stands is a relic of a bygone era. It is time for Nigeria to embrace a more flexible, voluntary, and a forward approach towards youth development and national integration. Ladies and gentlemen, it is time to evolve. Let us dissolve the NYSC as a compulsory burden. Instead, we can shift into better alternative and let those who want to build organizations, gain employment, or further education do so freely. The Nigeria of today deserves policies that reflect today's realities and not 1973's ambition. For these reasons, I strongly support the motion this House would dissolve the NYSC as a compulsory one-year program for Nigerian graduates. Thank you.
We thank the proposition for that fine speech. Let us welcome the first speaker from opposition.
Today we stand not just to oppose a motion, but to defend a vision that was born after the aftermath of a brutal, crucial civil war. A vision that was built on unity, service, and nationhood. The NYSC is not just a one-year program. It was a national commitment, a peace treaty in practice, and a bridge between tribes, territories, and tongues. Yes, it is not perfect. Yes, it requires reforms. But to dissolve it is to dismantle one of the last working symbols of our national unity. Do we tear it down just because it has flaws? No. Do we tear it what binds us together? No. Instead, we choose to lather a service with unity, faith, peace, and progress. Good day, distinguished moderator, panel of judges, accurate timekeeper, co-debaters, ladies and gentlemen. I am Maimuna Isa, student of Short Start School, standing to confidently oppose the motion that seeks to dissolve the NYSC program, the National Youth Service Corps, as a one-year compulsory program for Nigerian graduates. We must consider the dissolution of this iconic program. We must weigh the potential consequences of our national social fabric, economic growth, and human capital development. We cannot afford to sacrifice the benefits of NYSC, or we can adapt and strengthen the program to meet the evolving needs of our youth and nation. In this debate, I will argue that NYSC remains a vital institution, worthy of preservation and enhancement. I will present evidences of its successes, address potential challenges, and demonstrate that its dissolution will be a step backwards for Nigeria's progress. Like the first supporting speaker said from the proposition, the INEC was established in 1973 by the head of state as at then, Yakubu Gowon, in a bid to reconstruct, reconcile, and rebuild the country after the Civil War. That leads me to my first point, the nationwide impact of the NYSC programs. Since its establishment, NYSC has mobilized over 2.5 million Nigerian youths, ethnicities, languages, and cultures. Studies shows up to 70% of Nigerian leaders and entrepreneurs credit their leadership skills and patriotism to their NYSC experience. In a diverse country like Nigeria, understanding various ethnic groups is essential for long-term peace and stability. As the NYSC program has successfully fostered cooperation among the ethnic groups and initiatives, especially those that led by the core members, these often fall under Community Development Service, the CDS, projects. Some notable types of successful operations and fostered through the NYSC, such as Health Outreach Program, for example, the Health Initiative for Rural Dwellers, HIRD, by the NYSC Medical CDS groups, offering free checkups, medical supplies, and educating the public about health concerns. Also, educational projects. Core members have successfully initiated literacy campaigns, built libraries, and agricultural initiatives. For example, the NYSC Argo Allied CDS group has helped communities improve food production techniques such as fish farming, poultry, and crop cultivation, and also created job opportunity. Entrepreneurship and skill acquisition core members have trained with youth and women in tailoring, bead making, soap production. ICT skills, for example, NYSC SAED, Skill Acquisition and Entrepreneurship Development, has led thousands of core members to start small businesses. And environmental and sanitation campaigns, clean-up drives, waste management and education, tree planting projects are common. I'm pretty sure we are familiar with the Go Green projects, the Go Green campaigns. The Go Green campaigns are in places like Lagos and Abuja for promoting environmental stability, infrastructural projects. So many core members have provided sustainable community development services. According to The Sun, Rahila Garba from Borno State, who constructed 2 classroom blocks at Gudun Hausawa Primary School in Bauchi State. And also, according to Daily Trust, Asma'u Hamisu Isa from Sokoto State, who established an e-library and renovated 3 female toilets at the Sultan Abdurrahman School of Health and Tech in Wedabawa. These initiatives reflect diverse ways in which NYSC members contribute positively to their host communities. And we still want to dissolve the same NYSC. Can Nigeria afford to lose a program that, despite its flaws, has created thousands of opportunities for young Nigerians to develop skills they would have not easily accessed elsewhere? Since 2012, over 600,000 youths have participated in the SAID program, with many becoming entrepreneurs after service. Furthermore, promoting social cohesion. The program deliberately places graduates in states from their own, encouraging inter-ethnic interaction. This has reduced stereotypes, prejudice, and regional tension, contributing to the national harmony. Isn't building a unified Nigeria worth sustaining? My opponents argued about insecurity. They could claim that core members are being sent to dangerous areas. However, insecurity is a national problem, not created by the NYSC. But NYSC is accountable for how it responds to the insecurity and how well it protects its members. In 2011, during the post-elections, violence in Bauchi State arose. At least 10 core members were killed during the riots. And what did INEC do? INEC expressed condolences and briefly suspended postings to volatile areas. In 2016, core members' death in various states. Reports emerged of core members dying from illness, poor medical attention. The NYSC promised to improve medical facilities on orientation camps. A core member drowned during a picnic organized by the Lagos State chapter. What did INEC do? INEC launched an investigation. The Lagos State coordinator was queried, and activities guidelines were reviewed. While insecurity challenges exist, the answer is not to dissolve the program, but to reform and strengthen the country. Many rural schools, hospitals, and local governments rely heavily on core members for staffing, which is directly impactable to local development. Is it reasonable to assume that dissolving the NYSC would not have a negative impact on the nation's human capital development, particularly in rural areas who are lacking education, infrastructure, healthcare? A nation cannot be called developed when its rural areas are flawed with what the NYSC can transform. Economic contributions, skill acquisition, employment. The national impact of NYSC is beyond imagination. How will you ensure national unity and youth empowerment without this program? Advocacy and civic engagement. Campaigns over vote education, gender equality, and anti-corruption awareness. For example, by actively participating in advocacy, core members become more informed about national issues, rights, and responsibilities. Can we remember the famous NYSC girl who came on social media to talk about how expensive and how terrible life was living? We know her as Ray, but her true name is Uchi Rita. And also, not only her, Olaiwaju, who led grassroots campaigns against corruption. And mind you, Ray was the one who started the 30 days rant challenge on the internet. Participants in these activities, corps members not only fulfill their service obligations, but also become catalysts to positive change in Nigeria. Mr. Chairman, distinguished guests, with the points I've mentioned, I believe that I've been able to convince everyone that dissolving the NYSC program shouldn't be made. Thank you.
We thank the first opposition speaker for that fine speech. Let us welcome the second proposition speaker.
Okay, before I begin, I would actually like to address the point that the first speaker had made concerning Ray. According to Peter Obi, this girl Ray actually went on the internet to complain about Nigeria's economic problems. And according to Peter Obi as well, the NYSC also reportedly threatened her to remove these videos, that she had to go online and make an apology video. So, is this the system that we are supporting? Secondly, I would also like to address the point that she made concerning the fact that students are being sent off to volatile regions. However, these students are sent to volatile regions without actual very, very proper supervision. Is this still the system that we're willing to support? Is this the system that is claiming to foster unity and integration? I agree that it has done its part of teaching these people skills, but has it brought them any employment so far? The world has moved on since the 1970s, and so must Nigeria. NYSC, intended as a tool for unity, has now become a one-size-fits-all solution in a world that demands creativity, flexibility, and also diversity as well. As the second speaker from the proposing side, I am going to propose the motion: this House would dissolve the NYSC as a compulsory one-year program for Nigerian graduates. I would address practical consequences, give alternatives, and answer any of the opposition's likely arguments. Firstly, corps members actually face huge accommodation problems. Let's consider the terrible housing conditions faced by these corps members. Across several states, including Ondo, Ekiti, Enugu, and Lagos, there are several reports of students being faced with terrible living conditions, such as overcrowded halls, being forced to sleep on bare floors, and also their hostels, being infested with snakes and rodents as well. I would actually like to talk about a report I saw yesterday concerning one of these problems. Now, a particular camp, according to the Premium Times Nigeria newspaper, which is a very reliable news source, it actually said that one of the hostels had a lot of unspecified number of people which actually fell victim to injuries. Why? Due to the falling of one of the hostel walls and due to poor living accommodation. And as my fellow co-debater Beatrice had already mentioned, that Dolapo had lost her life due to medical negligence and also poor housing conditions as well. These are not just inconveniences, these are threats to our daily life, dignity, and also our human safety and health as well. Compelling and forcing graduates to live in this type of situation is fundamentally unjust, impractical, and very unethical as well. And while I agree, yes, that one's service to the nation is very noble, it should not come at the cost of one's life, one's dignity, and one's safety and health as well. If the government cannot do anything to provide for this huge accommodation problem, then it is best for them, or they have no moral standing or right to make the program mandatory as well. Secondly, NYSC corps members face huge unemployment problems. She said something about the people being taught skills, and I agree. We have a teacher in this school that actually was taught soup making skills, but so far, have they done anything to actually create employment for them? I would like to read another report I saw yesterday from Premium Times Nigeria, a very reliable news source, like I said. So this corps member interviewed actually stated that he's a microbiology graduate and he was posted to work as a cashier in a bank. He learned nothing resourceful and nothing tangible from his doings or from where he was posted to. Now, NYSC, which was established in 1973, like we all know, was actually intended for unity and integration as well, and also ensuring Nigerian graduates a smooth transition into the Nigerian workforce. Unfortunately, in our socio-economic reality, this is not so, as unemployment has rendered the NYSC completely ineffective and outdated as well. Here's why. According to legit.ng, another reliable news source, it is actually said that despite serving 1 year, a lot of students actually return back home jobless, unemployed, no meaningful connections, and no guarantee for the future as well. These youths claim that they are uncertain and hopeless about the future. This just tends to show how much the NYSC is doing about this graduate unemployment crisis. Not to even mention that unemployment in the whole of Nigeria is at over 50%. So, NYSC, are you doing your job properly? Are you actually doing your job of reducing these gaps, of fixing the holes in this situation? Are you actually willing to do anything about it? Because all you've been making is promises. And speaking of promises, yesterday, I saw a report about how NYSC were going to do something about changing the system and of what sort. This is not the first time I'm seeing this report. I've seen this report last year on Channels TV. I've seen it earlier this year as well. And this was the same year and the same month, which was January, in which a student claimed that he is not given proper minimum wages and he's not even given proper funding. A lot of times, students are being left unpaid. And how much did the federal government give the NYSC this year? They gave them 430.7 billion naira to probably be funded or to fund these students. And out of this money, how much did they give to pay teacher salary? 72 billion. Come on, we know that that is more than enough to feed over 1 million graduates' mouths. Instead of focusing on a mandatory one-size-fits-all solution, I'm sure you're all wondering, with these complaints, what alternative do I have in mind? Well, I think, or I believe, I know for a fact that Nigeria should adopt a voluntary skill-based approach by learning from the following countries. Firstly, Germany. Now, I'm sure you're wondering, what voluntary skill-based program does Germany have? Well, Germany actually has the Freiwillige Sozialleger, which stands for voluntary social year. Forgive me if I pronounce that wrongly. However, this voluntary skill-based program is actually meant for the people within the ages of 16 and 27 years old. And what are they given? They are being taught proper community service, quality health and quality education, and are also given hands-on experience on career-relevant skills, which actually increases their own personal development. What are the key features of this? They are given voluntary participation, unlike the NYSC, and unlike the NYSC as well, they are also provided with strong government support, and finally, they are given actual stipends, not the stipends that the NYSC are claiming to give, a mere 77,000 naira. And a lot of times, these students are left unpaid for months. Another country I would like us to look at is the US. And what voluntary skill-based program do they have? America. Now, America is a skill-based program which focuses on teaching students public service, opening them to activities of the government, and also teaching them basic career-relevant skills which will aid in their employment as well. So, unlike the NYSC, they don't just teach them these skills, they also ensure that they have a smooth transition into the workforce. What exactly have the NYSC been doing? So, with all these points in mind, in conclusion, the NYSC, like my fellow co-debater Beatrice had mentioned, is a relic of the bygone era. Instead of them to focus on their compulsory nature, they should actually focus on a voluntary approach rather. By dissolving this compulsory nature, we can provide space to convert youths into strong-willed, focused, and charismatic youths and patriots of their country. These are all the reasons why I believe, or I know, that NYSC should be dissolved as a compulsory one-year program for Nigerian students. Thank you.
We thank the opposition speaker, for that fine speech. Let us welcome the second opposition speaker.
You want to dissolve NYSC. Bold move. It's like saying, hey, let's stop pretending and become one big united nation for 12 whole months. Such a gruesome statement. Imagine a nation with graduates with diverse culture, religion, and tribe, not just coexisting, but thrives together, understanding and appreciating their differences. Imagine a nation that produces young leaders. Imagine a nation where young leaders are forged, not just in the classroom, but in the crucible community services, national duty, or collective responsibilities. This is Nigeria NYSC has shaped over the decades. My earnest greetings to our Mr. Chairman, Mr. Moderator, fair and just panel of judges, unerring timekeeper, my co-debaters, and our exquisite audience. I am Onucha Great, a proud student of Shore Star School, standing as the second speaker of the opposition side to firmly oppose the motion this House dissolved that the NYSC as a compulsory one-year program for Nigerian candidates. They ask, why is NYSC compulsory? But I ask, if not compulsory, why would someone from the South ever go to the North? I ask, what I ask, why would an Igbo youth choose to freely go to Sokoto, or a Yoruba youth choose to freely go to Borno? They say NYSC has not united us. But I ask, if NYSC does not exist at all, would you know what unity is all about? Let me not complain further, but rather let me break it down with the following point by building on the further arguments presented by my first speaker. I would like to counter one of the points which said huge unemployment problems. Firstly, NYSC reduces graduate unemployment temporarily. But first, I'll counter that. I'll also explain further. NYSC gives graduates 1 year paid position, reducing immediate employment burden. My opponents may argue about what about their future. As a matter of fact, these compulsory 1 year programs help them with a clear vision of their future and give them confidence for a clearer and decisive future decisions, or rather career decisions. Not to deviate, core members are paid federal allowances, currently 77,000 naira, sometimes supplemented by state and private employers. This will help short-term financial relief. Secondly, it builds discipline and national consciousness. The paramilitary orientation in NYSC camps instills discipline, teamwork, and creates a sense of civic responsibilities. Core members participate in military drills and routines, teamwork exercises, sanitation campaigns, and community development services, SCDs, in which core members are grouped into various CDS groups and carry out community service projects. This creates a sense of civic responsibility and also contributes to our national development. One cannot ignore the fact that NYSC provides emergency workforce and electoral support. The federal government relies on NYSC core members as a temporary but educated and trainable workforce during emergencies and national exercises like the election, census, and disaster relief. A striking example of this was in the 2019 and 2023 election. The INEC deployed tens of thousands NYSC members, a cost-effective, neutral, and educated option. Also, during the COVID-19 pandemic, the NYSC members helped communicate health campaigns and contact tracing. Furthermore, NYSC certificate is a legal and professional requirement. The NYSC certificate is required by the law for gaining employment in government ministries, departments, and agencies. Even private companies like banks, firms, and multinational corporations require NYSC completion for employment. Abolition or making it optional abolition or making it optional for non-participants is at a disadvantage. For example, a graduate who skips NYSC cannot be employed in Nigeria Civil Society, EFCC, or INEC, except if he gives an exception, if he's given an exception of an exception letter. Even global firms like Access Bank, Dangote, and Shell often require NYSC certificates for job application. Finally, reformation, not abolition, is the answer. While there are valid criticism about NYSC, such as poor welfare, insecurity in posting areas, corruptions in developments, these issues are not enough for the abolition of this beautiful foundation. Reform and modernization are more constructive approaches. Also, to counter another one of your points, you said huge accommodation problems. A fact that should not be overturned is that the INEC Trust Fund bill is currently under consideration in the National Assembly, seeks to provide funding for core members, post-service businesses. Similarly to digital literacy, better accommodation, and merit-based posting can all be implemented without damaging the foundation of a 50-year-old national institution. As John Kennedy once said, ask not what your country can do for you, rather ask what you can do for your country. This is exactly what NYSC teaches us. The national building starts from service and sacrifice, not just sitting back and complaining. Let's not throw the baby with the baby water. Let's fix the program, not end it. Let's make it safer, more useful, and better supervised. But let us not destroy something that still brings hope and unity. As I conclude my submission in this debate, I would like to leave you with a very vivid image, a mosaic of the Nigerian youth, diverse in background, culture, and experience, yet united in purpose and patriotism. This is the legacy of NYSC, a testament to the power of service, sacrifice, and nation building. And I believe there is no essence of doubt that the National Youth Service Corps, which is the NYSC, should not be dissolved. Please, go ahead.
How do you address the fact that there are several rodents found in rooms, even when there are so-called sanitation campaigns?
As I mentioned in one of my facts, I said the fund bill currently under consideration in the National Assembly seeks to provide funding for core members' post-service businesses, similarly to better accommodation and merit-based posting. And I hope I've answered your question. Thank you.
We thank the second opposition for that fine speech. Let us welcome the third speaker from proposition. Please remember to take POIs.
In 2021, a young Nigerian graduate named Ifoma was deployed to Borno State for a National Youth Service Corps. Full of hope, she believed that this would be another stepping stone to a greater future. But sadly, just a few months into service, tragedy struck. From her way back from her primary place of administration, the vehicle that she was in was attacked by insurgents. Ifoma never made it back home. Her only crime? Being compelled by the state to serve in a region being compelled by the state to serve in a region riddled with insecurity, far away from her home, family, and aspirations. Ladies and gentlemen, we stand here today to discuss a service which was once built on unity, patriotism, and national development, but now more than ever risks lives, wastes time, and delays progress. My name is Derek Tafa, a proud student of BRITARCH Schools Abuja, and the third speaker on the proposing side. I stand before you today to firmly support the motion that this House would make the National Youth Service Corps, NYSC, a compulsory... I stand before you today to propose the motion that this House would make the NYSC a compulsory one-year program for Nigerian graduates, because a system which dangers the youth that is trying to empower is not one that is justifiable in modern-day Nigeria. Firstly, NYSC risks security to core members. One of the gravest flaws is the blatant disregard for the safety of its members. The original vision has become dangerously outdated in a country filled with violent attacks, terrorism, and kidnappings, which have become widespread. Under the current structures, graduates are deployed to regions which are unfamiliar to them, where they barely have any say in the matter. The random posting policies forces young Nigerians to serve in places with no emotional, cultural, or familial ties that they have to, some which are outrageous. Yes?
In your story about Ifoma, you mentioned that she was...
Sorry, I cannot hear you. Can you talk louder?
In your story about Ifoma, you mentioned that she was killed on her way back. How do you blame NYSC for that insecurity when she had already finished her tenure at that time?
Well, I apologize. I maybe did not explain Ifoma's story very well, but she was in a government bus that was being organized or sponsored by the NYSC program. So if you are going to provide transport facilities for your core members, why not provide the transport facilities to be made safe? If they actually took security to be their priority, Ifoma would have been alive today and probably have lived a great life with a beautiful future. The random posting policy forces young Nigerians to serve in places with no emotional, cultural, or familial ties to, some which are outrageous. Take example the story of Ifoma that I talked to you about. Her story is not isolated. In fact, in August of 2023, 8 core members were kidnapped from Zamfara State, as again they were being transported in a government bus. Can you see what the NYSC does? They don't even regard the safety of their members. Why would we support such a program? A better approach is to dissolve the NYSC. Countries like Germany, America, and South Africa have voluntary programs where participants choose where and how they serve. Patriotism cannot be forced or coerced. It must be earned through a country which respects and appreciates their youths. Secondly, physical presence doesn't equal cultural understanding. The NYSC is designed to promote national unity by posting graduates to different parts of Nigeria, assuming that spending time with a culture fosters unity. But let's be real. Just because you are forced to live in a place for 1 year doesn't mean that you actually connect with their people or their culture. You can live in a place for 11 months and still feel isolated and feel alone, especially when we have something like discrimination, insecurities, and kidnappings, which are rampant in Nigeria today. A lot of youth service corps members, they just stay in their own circles and count down the days until they no longer have to serve. And you say that they have unity and they're learning about their cultures. No, they do not. Meanwhile, today's youths are already interacting, learning, and collaborating across Nigeria with one another through social media, online communities, and digital platforms. Real unity is happening online, and it's happening organically through mutual respect and understanding, not through a forced government mandate. Also, aside from the flaws of the NYSC program, it has been overtaken completely by corruption. Corruption is not something that we are new to in this country, let's be real. Corruption happens everywhere, but in the NYSC, it is too rampant. It has to be stopped. Privileged parents do everything in their power for their children who are graduating from secondary schools to be posted to places or to posted to the best cities or juicy agencies, as I would like to say. Meanwhile, those who do not have the right connections are sent to suburban or even rural areas, which have high security risks, just like Afoma and the 8 other students that were killed. If not that for the corruption, maybe should have not been dead today. Also, these graduates who are flaunting their certificates saying, yes, I graduated from the NYC, a lot of them never even attended classes. They bribed the instructors for them to mark them present in class when they were absent. Are these the people who are learning the cultural things that you say they should? No, they are not. Lastly, there's a mismatch to career. Let me give you an example. Imagine that you graduated from the university with a medicine degree and you are a doctor ready to take on the world and save lives. And then you are posted to a rural area to be in a school to become a mathematics teacher. Your skills, your future, your passion and your aspirations have not only been ignored and neglected, but they have also been put into a box that has nothing to do with your career. Why would a doctor be put into be teaching mathematics? It doesn't make any sense. What if instead of sending graduates to relevant roles that put them into a box, we took this year to help them build their careers right out of university? Why not give them, when you are graduated from university, you go straight into the field for apprenticeships or internships? Why must they serve 1 year in a program that we can already know about through social media? I don't need to know about the South. I don't need to go to the South to actually know about the South, as you may think we do. This is not 1973 anymore, as you said earlier. This is the present time. This is 2025. I can know about America and I've never stepped foot inside the country. Ladies and gentlemen, honorable judges, and my dear audience, sure, in 1973, the NYSC may have served a purpose, but as of today, it does nothing but risk lives, waste talent, and teach the youth what they already know through social media. Let's stop holding back our youth and give them the future that they deserve. This House must dissolve the NYSC as a compulsory program and must dissolve it completely. Thank you.
Thank the proposition for that fine speech. Let us welcome the final speaker from opposition.
When you burn the bridge that connects the future to its past, you don't move forward, you fall. As the final speaker, building on the solid foundation, build up facts and established realities laid by my chief speaker and first supporting speaker, allow me to close this case with these clear and convincing points. This isn't just about NYSC. This is about Nigeria. This is about national unity, youth development, and the danger of dismantling a structure without building a better one. Standing on the existing protocols, my name is Fatima Mustafa, a student of Shore Start Schools, and I stand here to strongly oppose the motion. This House will dissolve the NYSC as a compulsory one-year program for Nigerian graduates. Yes, NYSC has challenges. Yes, there are flaws. But what do you do when something is broken? You fix it. You don't abandon it. When your mother is sick, do you simply abandon her or take her to the hospital? You fight for her recovery and make sure she gets well. This is the same with NYSC. Instead of dissolving it, why can't we fix it? Let's face their points. They'll say NYSC is dangerous, that corpus have died, that it wastes time. And to that I say yes, risks exist. But so does impact, and no system is flawless, not even the ones you want to replace it with. So I ask, how can you justify dismantling an institution that has fostered national unity and cultural exchange among Nigerian youths for decades? Don't you think dissolving NYSC will deprive graduates of a unique opportunity for personal growth, leadership, development, and community service? Can you guarantee that the alternative you speak of could provide more effective in promoting patriotism, national cohesion, and youth empowerment? It's just 1 year, people. 1 year to give before you take. 1 year to serve before you earn. 1 year to understand your country beyond your postcode. And you want to throw it away? 1 year may seem long when you're far from your comfort zone. But that's where the real change is. It's in sweating for others that you realize your strength. It's in serving strangers that you discover your identity. You say NYSC delays careers. No, it develops character. You say it's a burden. We say it's a badge of courage, sacrifice, and unity. Because we can't keep asking for a better Nigeria while cancelling the very tools meant to build it. The NYSC sends a Yoruba youth to Sokoto, an Igbo youth to Kwara. It says meet, learn, live, serve. Yes, the system has flaws, but how dare we measure it only by its mistake and not by its mission? Its mission to say you are not just a graduate, you are a nation builder. Now let's talk about what's at stake. If we dissolve NYSC, we don't just dissolve a program. We dissolve purpose. We dissolve identity. We dissolve one of the last shared experiences that link Nigerian youths beyond social media, beyond states, beyond stereotypes. So I say this not in defense of perfection, but in defense of potential. This motion is not just a proposal, it's a red flag, a threat to the idea that sacrifice is worth it, a threat to the idea that unity is possible, a threat to a future where our youth still believe in something greater than themselves. Because if we keep mistaking discomfort for dysfunction, if we keep confusing commitment for punishment, then we are not growing, we are giving up. Let us stop calling disconnection developments. Let us stop treating national service as a prison sentence. Let us stop killing bridges just because the walk is too long. NYSC may have been flawed, but it is foundational. And this country cannot live to lose another layer of unity. So this house does not just oppose, this house refuses to watch purpose be traded for convenience, refuses to let national service be silenced, refuses to let a generation grow up in silos shouting change without knowing their fellow. My job today is simple: to remind you why NYSC matters, to rebuild what they tried to tear down, and to stand not for perfection but for purpose. This house does not fear change. It fears what will happen if we refuse it. Dissolving NYSC won't dissolve Nigeria's problems, but protecting it might present our unity. So if serving the motion for 1 year is the price for peace, then I say let every moment count. Let every second be worth it. Because this house does not dissolve duty, it upholds it. It doesn't dissolve the future, it safeguards it. It doesn't dissolve hope, it nurtures it. Which is why this house firmly, finally, and fearlessly believes that the dissolution of NYSC is not reasonable. Thank you.
Thank the opposition speaker for that fine speech. Let's welcome the reply speaker from the opposition.
Standing on the existing protocol, I rise as the reply speaker from the opposition. I stand before you this day to firmly and passionately oppose the motion that seeks to dissolve the NYSC as a compulsory one-year program for Nigerian graduates. Let us be clear. Dissolving the NYSC is not the solution to our national challenges. It is an escape, a retreat from a vision that is still both necessary and achievable. My opponents have raised concerns, some valid, regarding security, job placement, and relevance. However, these concerns call for reform, not removal. Shall we demolish a house simply because the windows are broken? No. We fix what is broken. We improve what is outdated. They could question the efficiency of NYSC in deploying core members fairly or addressing grievances. NYSC does not face challenges, but this is not a reason to dismantle it. We must demand a better, accountable transparency and reform the system. I noticed you kept emphasizing on insecurity. However, insecurity is a national problem. Road accidents, kidnapping, it's all not INEC's fault. And you said it yourself, Ifeoma was in a government bus, not the NYSC's boss, a government boss. You clearly said it yourself. However, the government and the NYSC can work together to improve security protocols, which will not only benefit NYSC, but the nation as a whole. You mentioned discrimination. Isn't discrimination caused by lack of unity, understanding, and integration, or you don't know the meaning of this, discrimination? There is no Nigeria with only Hausas. There is no Nigeria with only Fulanis. There is no Nigeria with only Igbos or Igbos. However, Nigeria consists of Igbos, Fulanis. We can't call Nigeria just Hausas. Together we are Nigeria. Steve, Igbo, Yoruba, Hausa, together, the tribes, the cultures, we are all Nigeria. Together as one, not single people, Nigeria, Fulani, Hausa, Yoruba, no. The NYSC, founded in 1973, as we all know, was not a mere coincidence. It was a promise of unity, integration, and national service in a country fractured by civil war. Today, it remains one of the few that compel young Nigerians from different backgrounds, ethnicities, and religions to live, learn, and work together. In a time where the fabric of our nation, we need more unity, not less. And according to my civic teacher at Shaw Star School, Mr. Ken, from his reliable sources, when teaching us intercommunal conflicts and intercommunal relationships. Intercommunal conflict is a result of lack of unity, religious crisis, ethnic discrimination, which leads to violence, cruel acts between two or more communities, which involves killing of people, burning of property such as personal house, government, properties, vehicles. You can imagine even with the NYSC, there are little cases of misunderstanding and conflicts. So imagine abolishing it and diminishing it completely. It is going to be bloody. However, but on the brighter side, there is intercommunal relationship, which means mutual understanding between and sharing of common goals among two or more communities, which fosters peace, unity, stability, socio-economic development, political ties, intermarriages. As a matter of fact, some people met their soulmates from NYSC. Yes. And reduction of intercommunal conflicts, guarantee security in a nation, transformation, and development. Doesn't all this scream NYSC? Anyways, removing NYSC would be a devastating collective blow to these communities and an abandonment of our collective responsibility. Mr. Chairman, if we truly care about the future of Nigeria, we must not abandon what unites us. Let us reform NYSC, not dissolve it. To dissolve it is to dissolve one of the last threads holding our nation together. Demobilization gone. The joy seeing your call-up letter being posted in a state to a state in Nigeria you've barely dreamt of visiting gone. 3 weeks of operation gone. Come on now, Haba, the proposing team. Please see it from our own view. Just give it a thought. Now you know. Youths obey the clarion call. Let's the nation high. Nigeria will serve. Nigeria we are. Thank you.
We thank the reply speaker for rounding off the case for the opposition. Let's get the final speech.
Now, before I begin, I would actually like to point out several flaws that the opposition side actually made. Now, my opponents argued that the NYSC still fosters unity and integration. However, several evidences have shown that ethnic and religious divisions persist, and the NYSC have done absolutely nothing to bridge these gaps. I would actually like to take an example. I come from Adamawa State. The first opposing speaker also comes from my state as well. And a lot of corruption happens in that state, like a lot. So are you saying that NYSC core members that are being posted to Adamawa State should endure with it simply because it's compulsory or for the sake of unity and integration? And you also said something about fostering unity and integration again. Come on. Should unity come at the cost of several of youth not being paid 7,000 naira? A very small minimum wage. Should it also come at the cost of them being forced in overcrowded halls, being forced to sleep on the floor? Should it also come at the cost of them being sent off to volatile regions just to stay to their deaths? Come on, what you see as national integration is what I see as shared suffering. And we all know true unity is not built on shared hardship, but it's built on shared opportunity. And if we're talking about unity, why not just focus on funding education, securing jobs, which is what the NYSC have not done, and also secure places where the NYSC core members are being posted off to. That is what we call unity and integration. And speaking of unemployment, the second opposing speaker made a point where the NYSC are trying their best. But I said before, this is not the first time we're hearing these promises. These are all promises, but no action is being done to actually reduce these gaps. And mind you, how many a person, you brought an NYSC core member, but still, it doesn't change the fact that over half of the population of Nigerian youths, including those that haven't made it to the NYSC, see the program as completely useless and completely obsolete. And the NYSC PDP lawmaker, I've actually forgotten his name, he said that he's going to completely scrap NYSC in an interview in 2021. So, is this the system that we're willing to protect? And I'm sure you might be arguing that what about them promising to build character? What character? Character is not built in a system where they are still forcing people to go to their deaths. And you talked about, the third opposing speaker rather, you talked about risk. You said risk are necessary, but come on, are you saying that you don't care about the lives being lost? That just shows that you're not really being that considerate to the people that are losing their lives, neither to their families as well. Because character, or rather, you sending these people to less secure areas is actually building trauma, not patriots. And trauma doesn't serve the nation. It's patriots that do. Patriots with charismatic character that do. So please, let's stop coming together to call this glorified suffering. We need reform, like you said, not routine. And so far, what I'm seeing in the NYC is, it's routine. It's routine so far. So we should actually learn to adopt a voluntary skill-based approach, which is what other countries like Germany and US are doing. Thank you. These are all the reasons why I believe and know that NYS should be dissolved as a compulsory one-year training program for Nigerian graduates. Thank you.
Thank you very much for an interesting round. Shake hands, and the judges will deliberate now. Thank you. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we've come to the end of the first round of the semi-finals. It was a very interesting and engaging round. So what I'm going to do first is give you the core, what we have agreed on as judges, explain to you how the round went overall, and give you justifications on why a particular team wins over the other. So the panel made the unanimous decision that the team proceeding to the finals is the team from proposition BRITARCH schools. Now, what did this round look like? This house will dissolve the NYSC program, right? What we expected from both teams were three things. One, show why NYSC is necessary. Secondly, show the current impact it has, and do a comparison on if the good outweighs the harm or the harm outweighs the good of NYSC. And finally, show us if the things we get from NYSC are exclusive or there are alternative ways that the nation and NYSC candidates can benefit from it without it being compulsory. Realize that a key word here was making it compulsory. So what were the four clashes we had in today's debate? Firstly, on the benefit of national unity. This is how both teams engaged it. Proposition tells us that, oh, national unity in most cases is not even achieved, but they also tell us that even if national unity is achieved, should we choose a world where we are pushing for national unity and in most cases we have bad consequences happening to the people you are compelling to foster national unity at the end of the day? So during deliberation, it was a question for us on, are we choosing, let's take our youth to unfamiliar places, or let's take our youth to safe places? Because if you say something has to be compulsory, it means that you have taken the burden to ensure that the system is safe enough for those people that you are compelling to do those things at the end of the day. So in essence, on the clash of national unity, both teams concede that national unity is important, but the trade-off is something that we are not willing to continue to bear at the end of the day. But then secondly, they talk about individual development, and both teams consider, oh, when you go for NYSC, you improve, you learn some skills and everything. The question we had to ask ourselves within the panel, how effective has this been? Proposition tells us that when you talk about individual development looks like people go to places where the things they are practicing aligns with their career. They tell us that individual development looks like people even having the will to learn, because when you force people to go to places they are not even comfortable in, it means there is no incentive. There is a sort of lackadaisical attitude towards that thing, and they don't learn at the end of the day. They show us that most times they even come out unemployed, and most times the assimilation that's opposition actually, which was a solid point, we think that assimilation is something that is important, but then they show us that assimilation in most cases doesn't happen, and there are alternative ways that people can assimilate without their lives being on the line for it. Thirdly, they talk about corruption, right? So this is where I think opposition did a good job to show that, okay, in most instances, NYSC intends good, but there is just this national chaos that they cannot handle at the end of the day. Now, this is how we looked at it on the panel. When opposition says the burden of insecurity doesn't fall on NYSC, realize that this institution was established by the government, and so it means in extension there is a burden on the government to ensure that whatever they establish is something that doesn't just benefit their ideology of unity, but also benefits the people that will be participating in the program. They also, proposition then tells us that, oh, for corruption, the government gives them the money. And one of the things that was really interesting in the debate was opposition was almost compelling when they said that they can improve. But then we get a sufficient response from them that says they have had enough time to improve. They have given promises that they will improve. But every single year, we still record instances where it's almost like we are really going nowhere at the end of the day. And so they also tell us about how like this system in itself is corrupt, where people pay to go to certain areas and then the poor people are the most disadvantaged at the end of the day. So the question we then had to answer is that even if it is not NYSC fault, should we sustain a system that keeps hurting us? So imagine in everyday life, something is not your fault, but does that mean that thing should still continue at the end of the day? If you currently lack the capacity to make it better, even if it is not your fault, we think that there is just this intuitive response that says this thing has to end if you're not capable at all. Overall comments on the round, we think that opposition did a really good job. They gave factual arguments. I think that if there were enough responses to things like the alternative they brought, if there were enough analysis, so when you say it's not NYSC fault, you need to analyze this is the extent of their capacity. That is why you're saying it is not their fault. So the question is that if you say it is not their fault, how is it not their fault if they are giving the money, if they make the promises and they still do not fulfill those promises at the end of the day? And so I think the final clash was on the economic expense. Proposition says that it's really expensive to organize NYSC every year. We still have unemployment at over 50%. Imagine we use this money to ensure that things are voluntary and they are done more properly than the compulsory way in which we do it. And on these 4 clashes, we're able to give proposition the win over opposition. Thank you very much for an interesting debate. Good luck to the teams in your further endeavors. Thank you.